You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Welcome to it. I'm happy to have you here. And yet again, I am honored to talk to somebody that I have been a big fan of for a long time. A local legend here in Portland, Bryan Giles from the band Red Fang, one of my favorite bands of all time. Huge riffs, fantastic songwriting, and super gnarly, gorgeous guitar tone. That is the recipe for Red Fang's success. Also, they know how to throw a little humor in as well, which is always welcome in these times. In my view, Red Fang is a band that has become synonymous with a guitar amplifier. In fact, if it wasn't for the Melvins, Red Fang, and of course the band that took their name directly from the amp logo, Portland's own Sunn amplifiers may never have gained the cult status that the brand now enjoys in its revived and resurged and recharged form. So of course, I get into the Sunn beta lead with Bryan on this episode rather heavily, amongst a bunch of other stuff. This is a really fun chat. I think you're going to enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get into this episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, a show about guitar stuff occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Bryan Giles from Red Fang. I don't know if Monica told you, but I'm a big fan, so this is exciting for me.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So there'll be no antagonistic interview here. That's
No. Well, maybe a little, if you want it to be.
It's early. I still haven't had as much coffee as I need.
All right, fair enough. Well, hey, man, it is truly a pleasure. You know, we're sort of local. I'm just south here in Oregon City, so you guys are kind of hometown heroes. I've been following for a long time. You can't see it, but right behind me, I've got, like most guitarists who are also Red Fang fans, I've got a beta lead combo back here.
Very cool.
That I totally bought because of you guys, 110%.
Do you use it?
Oh, yeah. Oh yes, yeah. It's one of the weird ones with the combo with the weird slant speakers.
That sort of ported thing.
Weird. Which is like impossible to mic up, but yeah, I've found some ways.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's got two 12s in it.
2 12s. Yep, and they're like angled towards each other. So I kind of just put some mics in the middle, roughly, and there can't really be closed mic because the grill cloth's in the. It's a weird. I don't know who come up with that, but
well, you know, they were. I think they were on the drugs, you know, in the 80s. I'm not kidding. That's what I've been told is that there was a little bit of a drug problem running through the company, which had something to do with their collapse. That's what the knitting circle has been telling me.
Okay, well, that's news for me. I always wanted to get Conrad Sunholm on. He unfortunately passed here, I think, a year or two ago, but he was local. I never got the opportunity to get him on. I would love to hear the stories of the old Sunn days, but I'm sure
sure he had some. Yeah.
I'm sure you've told this story a million times, but I'd like to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Why did you guys start using them? Because they really became synonymous with your band.
Well, I think that it was convenience, really. I was playing in a band years ago, and I was religiously using a Fender Bassman 50, but then I started playing with John Sherman, and he hit too hard for 50 watts to compete. So I was like, well, so I started playing a Trainer, which I miss. I sold it. I wish I hadn't. I can't remember what model it is, but it came with like this practice speaker built into the side. It was amazing. I love that thing. Anyway, that's gone. So anyway, so we started this new band, and Aaron had a collection of them. He had, at least 3, if not more. And so we just used them because we all needed loud amps to, and honestly, when we started doing it, it seemed pretty clear right off from the beginning that it was really nice just to have. I mean, our gear setups are all a little different, and then the pickups you're using and stuff like that. So they all have their own kind of character. But there was some, the having everybody running through the same, flavor of distortion, really integrated the sound. So I think we were all kind of hooked just by that. It was, it's just real soothing. It was like a heavy metal massage.
Yes. And what I've liked about you guys the whole time is like it's heavy, but it also it grooves. It has a lot of for lack of a better term, kind of rock and roll style. Like I've always, it's not the same sound at all, but I've always felt that like you guys and Every Time I Die had kind of this like symbiotic feel in my brain, even though very different bands. Where do some of your influences come from?
Like other bands that we all like.
Yeah.
Well, I think that probably one of the real connectors, I think we're all big fans of Soundgarden. So, I like to describe them as our generation's Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that what they did, I think picked up a lot of stuff from them anyway. Just, Kemp Dale's guitar parts are so weird. And, a lot of times their song structures are real funky and the time signatures are weird, but they found a way to really smooth them out so that, your brain doesn't have to process what they're doing. It's just really enjoyable. But if you nerd out and start feeling, they drop a beat there and then they add a beat there, and that's weird, but it adds to a sense of unease, and but it's not in the forefront. It's not like, hey, we're wacky, So I think we all really liked that aspect, and I still really enjoy that deceptively simple sounding, something that something's not quite right, but you don't know what it is, and you don't really need to know. It's just, it adds to it, to the experience, like a spooky experience,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it makes you wonder too, in those scenarios, especially at the time that Soundgarden was recording, how much of that was intentional and how much of that was like, oops, we did that. Well, actually, maybe that does work, because there's a lot of that.
I would say it's pretty intentional. I mean, just, I rarely do this while we're talking, with this new album we have is like outtakes and that kind of thing or whatever. So I heard some like demo stuff of, some of their albums on these deluxe whatevers. And it's interesting to hear, what the nuggets that became some of these songs, and they're still just as, they had a real map to begin with, and they stuck to it.
Right. And do you guys try to mirror that in your own stylings? When you guys go to write, what does that look like? I'm sure it's evolved a lot over time, but what does it look like now?
I mean, general, we try a bunch of stuff. I mean, Aaron and I occasionally do nerd practice, which is us sitting down with tapes that we made at rehearsal with all 4 of us, and then we'll start cutting and pasting, Frankensteining different riffs with each other, and to see if they get along or not, without especially torturing John with 9 million iterations of something. It's like, let's just kind of get some of the baseline crazy things out of the way, and then sort of get closer to something before, and then bring that back to practice once it's kind of more in a place. But in general, our songwriting is somebody brings in a riff. Hopefully, my goal was always, if I'm going to bring in a riff, it's going to have a B part. If the B, it's like there's a riff that I really like, and then I'll write something that maybe not totally flayed out, but seems, it's like has a tonal shift, or has kind of gives a sense of maybe where the thing would go as far as a verse chorus, and then we all sort of just bang it around, and it can be painstaking because getting everybody happy is sometimes, but that's the beauty of collaboration. It's if it can take days of smashing a riff until it conforms to everyone's sensibilities, but then with the final result, it makes it all worth it. At the time you're like, oh my God, if I have to hear this riff one more time, I'm going to kill somebody, but
oh yeah.
But I do love it, and it, the fight like that, if you get that eureka moment, it's like the best. So I don't know, I live for it.
It's one of those things. I feel like with almost every creative endeavor I've ever explored, whether that is, stuff in business, trying to name, pedals or projects or brands or whatever, especially in music, though, you feel like you're banging your head against the wall a lot. But then all of a sudden, it's like, that's it. And most of the time, in my experience, when it really clicks, everybody kind of gets that look in their eye, like, that's it. That's the thing we've been searching for all this time. Do you guys have that happen, or is it more you got to like, we all kind of compromise and it became it over time?
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes, it's pretty unanimously, and we all do kind of do that. Like when Wires came together pretty quickly. That opening riff was a David thing, and then Aaron took it home and woodshedded it and brought that back in, and I was like, yes, that is how that riff should be used. That's best foot forward for that riff, and as a motif for the whole song. That was quick. Other times, there's songs like there's a song "Voices of the Dead" from I don't know what album, maybe Whales and Leeches, maybe. Yes, most likely. Anyway, I was like, I don't know, the whole way through. I was like, I don't know about this. And really not until we took it into the studio, everybody laid down their guitar stuff, and then Aaron put down the vocal track, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. But I mean, there is some of that. You do have to trust the guys you're in a band with, and be like, and sometimes, you don't, just because you don't get something, you're in a band with other people that are like-minded, and you have to just take your hands off the wheel and trust in what's happening, and that song, I love it. It's weird, but from a if you're not seeing the full picture, you're just doing the riffs, you're like, God, this is just really convoluted and strange.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand like the upshot. I'm not sure what to lean into or what to lean back from, because I just don't see it, in that case. That doesn't happen that often, but occasionally, and I just have to have faith. And some of the things that seem like garbage are some of my favorite things. So, I think and I still remind myself this because I'm getting to be an older, more opinionated man. It's that whole concept of yes and it, for improv, but it works for everything. I think it works for life. If someone comes at you with something, then you don't understand it, or it doesn't fit into your sensibility, shutting it down doesn't do anybody any good. You investigate it, or you say, well, there's something that's, doesn't really hit me in my happy place. But what if we added this, you know, and if everyone has that sort of additive attitude, you know, there's a lot of cutting room floor stuff that doesn't have to end up down there if people are willing to have faith in each other. And that's, you know, that's what it comes down to me. Down to for me in being a band, you know.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of parallels between, you know, trying to create something as a band and as a cohesive unit that if you stick with it long enough and you grind it out long enough, you'll have experienced a lot of different, you know, kind of not necessarily conflicts in a super bad way, but different creative struggles with each other that you can take into life, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Being in a band is like conflict resolution.
Yes. I mean, it's also because you guys are all doing something that, you know, in theory, in a perfect scenario, y'all really care about and you're really passionate and you want to get it right. But everybody has a different path.
That's where it can get intense, you know. It's because we all do really care, you know. It's not like whatever, you know. I mean, I don't say that. I mean, I don't ever throw my hands up and say, well, I'm just going to play and this sucks, but I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? I'm going to get it somewhere where there's some aspect that speaks to me, you know. Otherwise, it's just ridiculous. Then I'm just a monkey jumping around, you know. So,
right.
But I wouldn't expect anyone else to phone it in either, you know. I mean, and that's we only have 5 albums in 20 years, so you know it's a process.
It's a process, but that's not. I mean, it's not the only thing you're doing. You know, there's touring, there's all this other stuff. You got to talk to some random dudes on the internet for some reason.
No, that's all. That's like all I do is talk to random dudes on the internet.
Well, I'm happy to be one of the random dudes. That's great.
Yeah, no, I don't really do a lot of this, so it's no problem.
So when you guys were recording in the early days, obviously there's, you know, this show pretends to be a gear show, but oftentimes is not, but we can pretend for a little bit longer. You know, things were different back then as far as recording goes. There was not as much in the box, you know, the mixing in the box was becoming more popular, but there was not as much digital emulations available. There was not as much of that stuff. Have you explored any of that, or have you kind of stuck to what worked?
You know, I like the sound of, especially drums. I think that I feel like every recording session that we've done, I think we've always put drums to tape, and then you hit the tape a little hard, and so you get that analog distortion a little bit, you know, and it's warmer sounding, and that tape grit is something that you know, they're getting better and better all the time, but I still don't. I mean, I guess maybe I would throw back some. I don't trust it. I'm like, no, we need actual, you know, magnetized tape where we really those little pieces of metal, you know. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm all about these new things. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming if you're like, well, how many, you know, tracks do we have to work with? And they say, oh, you know, 1,000. And we're like, well, you know, and so yep. as far as like a song not ever being done, you just at some point have to quit doing it because you can endlessly tweak. And now with, you know, digital recording, someone's like, oh, but what about the auto harp or whatever? You're like, we don't need a goddamn auto harp just because we have 1,000 tracks doesn't mean we got to use them. But I like the, you know, there's options and you're not constrained. You know, I mean, every constraint is part of the thing, and that's cool. Like, I don't know what Sgt. Pepper was recorded on a 4-track is the mm-hmm. the legend, you know, just a load of bouncing.
Yep.
And that album turned out pretty good. So, you know, you don't, you know, whatever these new things, I'm not against them. You know, I'm not a purist. Like, you know, like Jack White is like supposedly will not record digitally. He doesn't punch in. You know, it's like you do a take and that's that.
Right.
And I'm not like that. I'm like, man, wherever your comfort level is. I just don't buy a lot of these things. It's like, man, just use the tools that you have before you, but don't go crazy. I mean, remember that you are a human being making a song, and that all these bells and whistles and blinking lights aren't going to make the song any better, and they only really have the potential to distract you from, keep your eye on the ball. That's what I say.
I like it.
But it's fun to have all the it's like, can you make my guitar sound like a spaceship? And they're like, I have one button. Yep. And they're like, okay. All right, well, don't do that. But I just wanted to see if you could make it sound like a spaceship.
Yeah, I'm a guitar pedal addict, so I got spaceship sounds, I got whale sounds, I got gremlin sounds, I got whatever, I could turn a guitar into just about anything at this point, I feel like, with all these pedals I got laying around.
Yeah, pedals are fun. Mm-hmm. I just don't use them because I don't want to keep track of them or carry them around.
That's fair.
Hey, Rocky.
What's up, Vincent?
Did you hear about the latest?
Latest what?
The latest drop from Maris. It's totally insane.
No, tell me more.
Maris just released Enzo X.
What's that?
Enzo X is a supernova expansion from the original Enzo into the highest quality and most flexible studio synthesizer ever created in a pedal format.
Whoa!
Enzo X combines 5 synth types, 5 drives, 3 reverbs, and 5 modulations. It also includes a full 2.5 second stereo delay, all in one pedal.
That sounds hard to use.
It's not. The UI is from the same family as the Mercury X and the LVX. It's super easy to dive in and see exactly what you are tweaking in real time.
Oh, I see. It's right there on the screen.
Yep.
Is it this for guitars, though?
Nope. You can plug almost anything into the Enzo X, including your MIDI controller.
That sounds incredible. Where do I get it?
You can pick up Enzo X online at maris.us or at any of their fine retailers across the globe.
Did you just say across the globe?
They know what I meant.
Wait, are we getting paid for this?
I'm still waiting on that cash money from last time.
He better at least give us pizza for dinner.
I'm not giving him his Enzo X back until he does.
For more information, make sure you check out maris.us, and apparently I have to go order a pizza. How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services, and it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there. We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby because, let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff.
I use 2 pedals. I use a tuning, like a TU2 or a TU3, depending on, I have a lot of them, whichever ones are working at the time. And then I use a pitchfork, polyphonic tune, like pitch shifter. Mm-hmm. And mostly also because I don't want to carry a second guitar. We do sometimes, we'll put in a drop C section, in a set. I'm like, I don't want to carry a whole guitar, whatever, through all these airports and just for 2 songs. So, and that pitchfork it has you can an artifact, as they call it, but not so much that it bothers me. And what amazing, as far as technology, it's pretty amazing. I just step on a thing, and there I am in C, and I honestly kind of enjoy it because the tension of the strings is normal. It still has that lower frequency, which is heavy and cool, but it plays regular. So, But anyway, those are just the only and if I'm not doing drop C songs, so very rarely I'll use the octave effect, like to beef up a guitar melody or something, or not at all. So basically my sound comes out of my guitar, a Sunn beta lead head, and 412 cabinet, and that's it. We've been using orange cabinets forever, so that's my rig rundown is boring,
but it works. So
it does, yeah. The less you have, the less you can break.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of the beta lead again, I would be remiss as a big gear nerd if I didn't talk about the new beta leads versus the old beta leads. I think you guys, if I remember correctly, have gotten to do some content with the new Sunn. Is that accurate?
I have a new Sunn beta prototype in my house, and I know they want it back, but anyway, that's the point. I have it. So, but yeah, they sound great. It was really cool. They was it like maybe two summers ago, 3? So I don't know, 22 maybe. They came to our practice space and brought their analytic equipment, and plugged our old Sunn heads into their laptops and did frequency analysis and stuff like that. And we have a bunch. I don't know. We have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 of them, maybe 12, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, well, this one, there's one that I generally don't take on tour because I think it sounds the best, and I generally use it for the studio. And so I was like, well, that one, it's not exactly the best road dog, but I love the sound of it the best. And so, they went through and did side-by-side comparisons with their gear and stuff. And I used the prototype for a tour, and I loved it. It was great, and they are really passionate about the brand and really getting it right, not just using the logo and throwing out some crap. I mean, they really want to replicate the originals, Sunn line of equipment, and that they're doing great so far, and really, really nice dudes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Sunn brand is just interesting because around here, it's so common. Growing up, I saw Sunn cabs all over the place, and I got one for free that I absolutely love. It's a big old 212, and it's the beefiest sounding 212 I've ever heard, with like the Sunn labeled weird speakers in them, and they were just kind of all over the place in the Pacific Northwest. I thought they were ubiquitous, and I grew up and started talking about Sunn to people who didn't grow up here, and they're like, "What are you even talking about?" Like they didn't really have the legs until I feel like you guys helped push the brand out there to where everybody wanted them.
I'm pretty sure Nirvana used them. And,
they did, but it wasn't like people weren't Googling that. People were looking for Kurt's DS1.
Well, if anyone, I think really pushed Sunn, it would be Melvin's.
Sure.
I think that's probably where we got the bright idea, because man, the guitar, Buzz guitars are just amazing sounding. So, I think he's kind of moved on from that, as far as I can tell. But we haven't.
I talked to him maybe 3-4 years ago about this same line of subject here, and he was still pretty into it from what I gathered. So, and yeah, Melvin's, just generationally, and this is going to be, hard for some people to hear, I found you guys first, and then I found the Melvins later. So It's just kind of the way the cookie crumbled, just because of my age, really. But of course,
that's exciting to discover Melvin so late, because they have so many records to check out.
Oh, it was I love that one. It doesn't happen that much anymore, because now I'm not as young as I used to be. But there for a while, I would find modern bands talking about older bands, and I'd have to dive back in and go look, and there were these vast catalogs sometimes, and it was like, this is incredible. I'll get all this stuff. And now I'm getting to be that older guy sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's sometimes it's nice to live under a rock for a minute, and then you come out and you're like, oh wait, there's 4 seasons of this show or whatever. You know, I mean, it's that kind of thing.
It is fun. Yeah.
I think what was it? Is it Young? I always get them confused. Young Widows. You know them?
I know the name, but I'm not super familiar with the output.
Let me just make sure I'm talking about the right band, because there's 2. Let's see. Albums. Images. Sorry. Internet. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what
that's them.
Yep.
Yeah. Young Widows, this band. I'd never heard of him, and Aaron turned me on to him. His wife's band did like a split with them, and anyway, I think, and this is 5 years ago, but I was like, oh man, I mean, they are a band that combines all these elements of different bands that I really like, but it's kind of insane. They do weird song fragments and just are very creative and cool band. I was like, oh man, and he played an album for me. I was like, I love this. Who are these guys? And it turned out they'd been a band for like 10 years, and they had a bunch of albums. I got really excited. It was like Christmas Day, so every once in a while, it's nice. And you got to think there's so many bands, that were coming up around the same time as Black Sabbath and stuff that are, that didn't get the attention, that Black Sabbath did. I mean, there's so much out there that are hiding in dusty corners, and it's just a matter of looking around. And I really should do more of that, because it's just thinking about all the out there in the world that hasn't gotten its just desserts or whatever. But now whatever modern culture, the internet is there. So if somebody was cool enough to upload it, then it doesn't have to die in the 70s or whatever,
Well, and that's one thing I really like about doing this show is because, I look at the guest list sometimes, because it started with guitar makers and pedal makers and amp builders and gear people, which it still is that. I still interview a lot of those people, but as it's grown and I've gotten the opportunity to do more of these things, I've gotten to talk to people like yourself and other musicians that I've listened to for years. And then one of the most rewarding things is hearing people be like, I never heard of this band, because they come to this show for the gear talk. They come for the guitar talk, and they stay for everything else typically. And so we've got metalheads that listen. There's blues dads. We've got indie rock people. We got, emo kids. We've got every kind of guitar based nerd will listen to this show, basically.
Well, I'm happy to be one of your sidekick, side shows, whatever. That's great.
I guarantee you there are going to be people that have never listened to Red Fang before that listen to it after this interview. And that is really rewarding to me, because I get to share all the bands that I like with all the fine people of the internet that listen to this thing for some reason. So
yeah, it's cool, man. I mean, we wouldn't be anywhere if people didn't talk about it, so I appreciate it.
Yep. I mean, and likewise, my friend who's not a big metal guy was a big Decemberist fan, was like, Chris Funk produced this band. I bet you'd like them a lot. And that was game over for me. So here we are.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, segueing to some slightly different topics, because I know we got a little bit limited time frame here. What are some other things that you're into? Obviously, it's music primarily, but you strike me as a guy that has other interests as well. What other forms of media or things do you have? Activities you like to do?
I've been reading a lot lately.
Yeah.
My new thing is to just look up Hugo and Nebula award-winning books from the past 20 years, and I've been trying to read all of those because I'm like, well, it's award-winning, and I like sci-fi, fantasy, so
yeah.
And I've read some really cool books of late, and I think maybe I'm just justifying sitting around reading a book, but I think it does inform me as far as like my music and stuff. These taking your brain, to this magical place or whatever, and just weird perspectives on life and stuff. You can kind of say, "Ooh, that's a cool concept," and then you maybe turn that into lyrics or something, or just trying to capture like the vibe of something, say, "Ooh, well, that, what would the soundtrack to this chapter in this book sound like?" And it gets your brain going. So, and reading is good for you.
It is. Yes. My wife, I've talked about this a lot recently because it's a real thing that's happening in the last couple of years. We used to watch a lot of TV shows at night. That was kind of how we unwound, and we still do that from time to time. But for the last about 2 years, she's like, "No, I'm reading," which has forced me to, I used to read all the time, which has forced me to get back into reading more books. I like a lot of graphic novels and stuff, so that's pretty easy to digest on my rather cluttered brain. But getting back to just regular novels has been nice too. What are some of your favorites? Maybe I'll head to the library this afternoon.
Well, I read all of the Murderbot Diary books. I was really into that this summer. So I read all those, and that's going to be a TV show on Apple with a Skarsgård in it.
Nice.
So I'm cautiously optimistic about that. I think that could be a great series. And Apple's got deep pockets, so I imagine the production value will be good.
Right.
Let's see. What did I just finish? Uprooted was a really, really cool. Lots of gore and
all right,
decapitations and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that. I read that. I don't know. It probably took me 6 days to read, and I'm not a fast reader. I was just like into it.
Mm-hmm.
And currently I'm reading, what's it called? Bright Doors, which is weird as, I'm not even sure what's up with it. It's really weird, but, and get this, I got this book right on the internet, which I feel terrible about. I have a local bookshop I should go to, Revolution Bookstore.
That's a good store. Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. I love them. But then I ordered a book online because I'm a convenience-aholic. It's terrible. Anyway, I got the book and it's printed. It's printed out of order. The pages. It was insane. I was like, all right, page 16. Now I got to find page 17. I have to thumb through like 10 pages and find 17, and then back. It was like reading a choose your own adventure, but if not on purpose.
Right.
But anyway, so the first I don't know 20 pages were a little rough because I had to do that. I think I'm through the woods. I think it's now sequential. I hope. But anyway, I'd never seen that problem before. I was like, oh my God.
That sounds fun. Sounds like why not mix it up once in a while?
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
And then I just read Annihilation. There was a movie out, I don't know, in the late teens or something.
I remember the movie. It's really good. I didn't realize it was a book.
The book is a trip. I suggest it. It's a mind bender for sure.
Yeah, mutated bear pig things in that too.
Yeah, that I think that just getting inside like the thought process, and it is sort of a thing. It's people going mad. So to getting as the story progresses, you trust the narrator less and less because they're under the influence of this area X or whatever. And so it's really effective like that. You're like, because the narrator is supposed to, you're supposed to cheer for them and hope for the best. But then you're like, do I want this person to, are they acting of their own free will, or is this some, foreign influence that's, like literally mutating their brain? And anyway, so it's got a really cool sense of foreboding and paranoia. I was into it, much more so than the movie. I think because the movie couldn't really delve into the headspace of the characters, I think it lost a lot. And just in general, I think that books, that's that's the difference between a good. I guess it's just you expect different things from a movie versus a book. But the book, you can get into the mindset of the characters going through these things, which really, I think, fleshes out a story, no matter what it is, even if it's a, whatever machine gun crazy thing. It's like, you want to know what the motivations are, what their thought process was. And so anyway, that book I strongly suggest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool. I started reading the second one. It's a series, but then that started out so weird. I'm not trying to make it.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Good Hertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblinssaudio.com. I think you're gonna like what you find.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Hear that? It's SpringFest savings calling your name, only at Lowe's. Right now, get a free Select Ego 56-volt battery when you buy a Select Ego trimmer, blower, or mower. Plus, get your choice of any 2 bags of Miracle-Gro organic soil mix for only $16. Shop these can't-miss deals in-store or online today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/2. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Excludes Hawaii.
It's like you open page 1 and you've already dropped like 5 tabs of acid, and you're like, oh my God, you don't want to give me like 5 minutes of like character drinking a cup of coffee before we get into this?
Nope, acid time.
No,
Yep.
Exactly, straight off the bat.
There's a time and place for that, I think. Sometimes you just want to go on a trip without necessarily going on a trip, and that's a good safe way to do it,
Yeah. I mean, it's just that it started out so abruptly bizarre. Basically, it opens with a character talking to themselves, and you're like, well, which one's the real one? And you're like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? So.
That sounds like I got some suggestions now. That give me some pointers. I really like weird, messed up things, so that is helpful for me. I like that.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting close. I know you got to go, but I do have 2 classic questions I like to wrap every episode up with, and you may have answered this one earlier. I think you did, but to make it official, we'll get into them. But before we do that, I like to give the guests a chance to take the stage. You're talking to a couple thousand people right now. You can share whatever you want to share, plug whatever you want to plug, shout out your grandma, whatever you want to do. The floor is yours.
Plugging things. Go Blazers. I don't know. I mean,
they need all the help they can get right now, right?
Man, have you been watching? The Blazers?
I've just been looking it up afterwards. Like my heart can't take it quite at the moment, but
man, it's just so fun, and yes, like last season, just watching them lose a bunch was just really tough because, I mean, I just sports, I've never really been too crazy about it, but basketball, for some reason, I think just that it's the intimacy of it. Like you really get to know at least the on-court personalities of the players, and and you get kind of tied into their hopes and dreams and stuff. And anyway, there's so much potential for this team this year, and it's been exciting. So
nice.
So I guess I'm, the Blazers don't need me to plug them. But if you don't have a team in the NBA that you give a shit about, start watching the Blazers.
The Blazers are the only thing I've ever cared about in sports, really, outside of a few maybe fights here and there. But like, I grew up, my grandma cleaned Bill Schonley's house, so like I was born into a Blazers family. That's just kind of the way it is.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, when we renovated our house when we got it back in the 2000s, he was renovating his bathroom, so I have Bill Schonley's sinks. An oddly proud thing that I have. I'm like, I got Bill Schonley's sinks. They look like normal sinks. They're just sinks. There's nothing exciting about them. But
hilarious.
Yeah. Final questions. First one, like I said, you might have answered this. What's your favorite Boss pedal?
I'd have to look up what Boss makes.
Oh.
What do they make?
That'd be the biggest list, I think, out of any pedal company. That we got the Metal Zone, we got the SD1. I mean, you use the TU2.
Yes, my favorite Boss pedal is the TU2. I find that the TU2 is easier to use than the TU3, even though the TU3 is more accurate. I prefer the TU2.
There you go.
Yeah. Super exciting.
That is the most common answer to that question.
I'm dialing in the TU2. Guys, bringing it to you. We were just talking about tuning pedals, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, and talking about our early bands. I'm like, I didn't use a tuner in my early bands. I'm like, how did we get away with that? Like, literally just tuning to whatever the bass was tuned to, because it generally held tune better.
Yep.
But there was no A necessarily. It was just whatever the second string on the bass is what you tune to. And it's just like, looking back at it, I'm like, that is crazy.
Oh yeah.
But we did it.
I remember that. I didn't get it. I had like 4 fuzzes before I ever bought a tuner pedal. It's just, why do you want to buy something that doesn't make any sound?
I know, right? There needs to be a PSA, at the Guitar Center or wherever these young people are getting their being like, all right, you're buying an Ibanez Roadstar 2. Well, you need a tuner. You don't need the stereo flange, blah blah. Leave that alone. If you don't get the tuner first, and then go on from there.
The stereo flanger will just make it out of tune anyway, though. So what do you need a tuner for?
Yeah.
Just go with it.
Exactly. And there's a story from who is it? The Minutemen, and supposedly, they were self-taught and they just bought instruments at a pawn shop or something and started playing. And their attitude towards tuning was, well, how do you tune your guitar? And he's like, well, I like my strings loose. The other person's like, I like my strings tight. And I don't even think they tuned to each other. They just tuned to whatever felt good to them, and then they would just kind of scoot their fingers around until things sounded pleasing to them, which is amazing, and that was probably a big part of why their sound so like unique and cool, is that they were just flying by the seat of their pants. So maybe don't get a tuner. I don't know what I'm saying.
Professional musician Bryan says, don't get a tuner.
That's right.
I like it. All right, final question, and this will be almost selfish for me since we're in the same town. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
Ooh, I just had ranch pizza last night.
Yeah.
That is amazing. What is that? I don't know.
It's like
Detroit
some
style. Weird state.
Yeah.
Detroit or Connecticut or something. Anyway, that's amazing. It's you can't be eating it every day, boy. But
no.
But so good. It's like focaccia bread or something with add 1,000 calories. So good. The dough they roll cheese into the dough. So you look at it, it's it's just a piece of bread with sauce and toppings on it, but there's no, cheese unless you get ricotta or something on the top. And it's just, well, where's the cheese? It's in the bread, which is, oh man, so good.
Yes.
And then I like Gracie's a pizza in St. John's.
I haven't been to Gracie's yet. I need to. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You just got to go early because he just makes a finite amount of dough. And then when he sells out, that's that. And sometimes he'll open at 5 and be done making pizza by 6:30.
Okay. Yep.
So, but it's right across the way from the Twin Cinemas. So that's, we've done that before. We go for an early dinner or go for an early movie and then go run across the street and do it. But I feel like we've taken a U-turn as often as we have eaten there because it can be very busy. So,
yes.
And then I think probably locally, my favorite regular pizza is Sizzle Pie. I think that they do a really good job. They used to make a pizza called the Bender, which was a vodka cream sauce, green olive, like finely chopped green olives, white onions, and I loved it. It was so good. I know some people that used to work there back in the day, and so sometimes they'll do me a favor and call my order in for me because they're like, I can make that happen, even though it's no longer on the menu. But if you want to be a pain in the ass, go to Sizzle Pie and ask for a Bender.
Didn't you guys do a pie with them for like a promo period?
Yeah, I think we had a Red Fang pizza for a month or something like that. We never made the menu.
Well, it happens,
Dare to dream.
Dare to dream. Yep. Well, I could talk local pizzerias with you all day, but I know you've got to go, so we'll let you get off here, and we'll reconvene for Patreon at a later date. So,
all right, Blake. Well, I appreciate your time, and yes, shoot me a thing, and we'll work that out.
Okay, sounds good. All right, everybody. For Bryan, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good times.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. Bryan and I reconvened a few days later for a rather, extraterrestrial chat over on Patreon, where we also got into a lot of other stuff. By other stuff, I mean book recommendations. This is like Bryan and Blake's book club over on the Patreon section of the podcast. And if you'd like to hear that and support the show, go to patreon.com/tonemob, where for $5 a month, you will not only get access to the ad-free feed, you will also get extra special bonus content. And after that, my mouth stopped working, and now it's back. Here we go. If that is not in the cards for you, please share this episode with somebody that you think would enjoy it. These chats only exist because you people keep doing that. So thank you to everybody who has shared an episode, got somebody into the show, and who tune in every week. It really does mean the world to me. Seriously, this is how I keep the lights on. So thank you all so much for all of that. I appreciate you. And I've got some more podcast updates coming soon. Even more of me coming to talk into your ears and tell you all kinds of nonsense. So I hope you're ready for that. It's coming very soon, and I'm excited to share that with you. All right, folks, go check out Red Fang. Go check out Bryan. And the links for all that good stuff will be in the description or the show notes or wherever the words are, wherever you're listening to this. All right. Thanks, folks. Talk to you on the internet very soon. Bye-bye.